Given the current state of the MCU, after disappointing projects like Love and Thunder, Quantumania, and Secret Invasion, among others, the return of the mutants in X Men 97 was a much needed break from the MCU and return to form for Marvel. You're listening to Elton Talks. I'm your host Elton, and in this episode, we are going to be discussing about X Men 97 and why Marvel and Disney are lucky to have the X Men back. The X Men movies were one of the first comic book movies that I watched. I remember watching the X Men movies when Star Movies play them all back to back in a single day. I liked the X Men to the point that I decided to check into the MCU after knowing that all these characters shared some history in the comics and were created by the same company. When X Men 97 was announced, I was not excited. I thought having not watched the animated series would affect my enjoyment. I even tried getting into the original animated series but couldn't due to time constraints and the story being too slow. But when X Men 97 premiered, I took my time to get to it and I was crying tears of happiness after watching just one episode because the X Men were back. It's no secret that the story of the X Men resonates with marginalized groups. Disney and Marvel Studios are really lucky to have the X Men back, especially when they are stumbling with their own toys in the MCU. The X Men have become rich and complex characters over the years, and through their many adaptations, have shown to provide everything from politics, drama, and action to commentary on evolution, discrimination, and representation. It is risky to comment on representation of politics in the current media landscape, but I trust that the X Men as a brand can handle it with care. There will surely be backlash calling the X Men woke, but the X Men are nothing but woke, and that is where their success lies. With this rich canvas of story and complex characters to pull from, the X Men couldn't have made their return at a better time for Marvel to give hope that the future can still be better. The year of the X Men. With the pandemic induced delays and writer strikes adding to the overall bad decision making at Marvel, coming to a head with pushing back of projects, leaving only one theatrical release for 2024. The stage is set with X Men 97's success for the mutants to prove their worth with Deadpool and Wolverine. Deadpool and Wolverine is set to feature huge cameos from returning X Men actors. I cannot wait for this. My first loves are coming back for one last ride. I would gladly call this year the year of the mutants. And if Deadpool and Wolverine performs great, then the rumored mutant saga would definitely happen after Avengers Secret Wars. While the rumors of X Men 97 leading to Deadpool and Wolverine didn't come true, the critically acclaimed series has taken the excitement up a notch for the only MCU theatrical release of 2024. From excitement of returning actors to the excitement of great stories and characters returning. Deadpool and Wolverine has had an amazing marketing campaign so far, keeping all secrets close to its vest. It would need to drop the ball so hard to mess up all this goodwill going in its favor. Let's keep the Deadpool and Wolverine chatter for when, hopefully, the movie gets the MCU back to its glory days. And for now, let's focus on X Men 97. I wouldn't call the writing in the show superior, but mostly, if not always, it was. From great one liners and monologues to amazing sequences like the X Men vs. Sentinel Trask or the entire Remember It episode, the writing reached peaks. Some mentions off the top of my head and that I really liked because not mentioning them is like not appreciating how good they are. For example, Magneto's monologue from episode 2, "Please do not make me let you down," or Val Cooper's Magneto was right monologue from the ending of episode 8. Gambit raising his cards, "The name is Gambit, mon ami, remember it," from episode 5, or Rogue's "I Can't Feel You" from the end of episode 5 that mimics Wanda and Vision from Infinity War and WandaVision, but also stands equal to those moments because of the scene where Rogue confronts Gambit earlier in the same episode. Bastion's humanity would rather die than have children like us. Just before humanity proves Bastion and Magneto right once again in the season finale, or Storm and Jean's sisterhood, where they exchange the dialogues, "Make them mind your weather, sister," and them weather your mind. These moments, monologues, and dialogues make the show feel so well written. It's not that special, but the constant lack of good projects and good writing that we have received, especially after Endgame, makes this feel far more superior. Just that we had a lack of good writing makes this feel so good. And I love X-Men 97 for giving us that finally. The characters. The key to X-Men 97's success is the characters, the dynamics, the action, the drama, and how the writing brings all of it together in 30 minutes every episode. My favorite characters are, of course, the MVP of this season: Rogue, Magneto, Jean, and Storm. Storm has always been one of my favorites, but the trio of Jean, Storm, and Rogue dominated this entire season. I also loved Morph being the cameo machine, from him turning into various X-Men characters and even the Hulk in episode 8. And even Cyclops got his moment to shine. I knew Cyclops was a beloved character, but this show made me like even his powers. Not only his character, but even his powers. And that's a testament to the show. Now, does Marvel solve its villain problem with X-Men 97? You might call me a sadist, but I feel the X-Men are the most interesting when they are vulnerable, pushed to the edge by the mutants and their creation, the Sentinels. Those robots, those mindless robots with the intent to terminate at all costs. And they even adapt in the process to raise the stakes for some of Marvel's most powerful characters. That brings me to the villain of X-Men 97, Bastion. While Bastion's reveal in episode 7 was great and promising, his consciousness turned out to be his most uninteresting factor for me. While the characters realized great and has some good parallels with the present AI situation of the real world, he fails to be intimidating and live up to the phrase that they used to describe him: future incarnate. Bastion is not a bad villain, but he falls short in the intimidating category. As I said, call me a sadist, I love the ending of Days of Future Past because of how bleak everything gets. And I feel Bastion kind of lacked, despite being called Future Incarnate, he didn't actually live up to that phrase. Anyway, I loved Bastion, and especially when Cyclops and Storm understood that they had to let evolution take its course. It was such a beautiful moment because we always see the X-Men as the heroes and the humans as the villains, but what happens when AI, the future, the evolution after mutants, stands right in front of the mutants? It was a really beautiful moment to see that play out in the finale. Let's rank the episodes. As I told you in the beginning, the very first episode made me cry tears of happiness because I felt like the X-Men were back. And then we also had the three-part finale, Tolerance's Extinction Part 1, 2, and 3, with Part 1, which is Episode 8, ending with Magneto was right monologue. Part 2, which was Episode 9, ending with Magneto ripping out the adamantium from Wolverine's body. And Episode 10, ending with the X-Men displaced throughout time, setting the stage for Season 2. While these three episodes had good endings, their content in between was good. We got cameos of major Marvel characters, which was kind of a distraction, but which was also good to see because I was literally more interested in this world than the MCU, because the MCU is lacking right now. I was like, this story is good, I want to see more of this world. What is Daredevil up to? What is Cloak and Dagger up to in this universe? It was really great, but episode 10 dropped the ball a bit because Storm was back, but she didn't get a major action scene. Jean was back, but again, she felt like she was holding back for some reason. Whereas the fight with Sinister and Jean in episode 9 was really good. So I believe they've given all the X-Men their time to shine, but in the finale, not all of them got to shine. So because of that, the three-part finale sits somewhere in between. And I think it's no doubt when I say episode 5, remember it, is the best episode. Because I've not read The Destruction of Genosha in the comics. I've read House of X and Powers of X, where they keep referring to Genosha. But to see the destruction of Genosha finally put to screen was devastating. I loved how the first half was drama heavy, and not just any drama, really important drama unfolding in the first half, which sets the stakes for the second half of the episode, which was action heavy and had major deaths and a very, very heroic moment for Gambit. So I think episode 5 is by far my favorite episode, with the three-part finale sitting right after that, followed by episode 1, 2, and 7, and then episode 3, 4, and 6 are probably my least favorite episodes of the season, but which was still great. So yeah, that is my ranking of X-Men 97 episodes. Let me know your character and episode rankings in the comments down below. That brings us to the end of the X-Men 97 review and why I think Disney and Marvel are lucky to have the mutants back. I'll see you guys in the next episode of Elton Talks, and until then, live with 3000 and let's go.